Gus McLaughlin is a retired Major General who has served as a UN peacekeeper in southern Lebanon, and he joins us now from Sydney. Gus, thank you for your time. Now, firstly, we hear of Saudis' limited ground invasion, potential ground invasion. Can you shed more light for us as to where this is at and where it could lead?
Good morning, Gemma. Look, I think it's almost certain this is going to lead to a broader conventional land invasion of Lebanon by Israel. You don't assemble tanks, artillery and infantry on the northern border of your country without an expectation that they will be used. I think the phase that we are seeing now is a detailed reconnaissance phase, probably the insertion of special forces. The area will be buzzing with the sound of drones, probably being used by both sides to further reconnoitre the areas in front of the invasion routes. We should remember that this ground is not unfamiliar to the Israelis. In 2006, they invaded into the same space, and in fact, going back to the 80s, there's been a number of Israeli incursions, and frankly, they've aimed to do almost exactly the same as their stated aim this time, which is to push rockets that can be fired into northern Israel further to the north, and they usually work on the boundary of the Litani River, a prominent feature about 40 kilometres north of the Israeli border.
So we know that Israel has the intelligence assessments as to where these rockets we've been seeing are being fired from. They're looking at the tunnel network where weapons are potentially being stored. Given your work in the region there, what insights does that give you as to what the fighting could look like?
Yeah, this is very tough terrain to fight in, Gemma. In fact, the Australian Army in World War II, in about 1941, 18,000 Australian troops were caught up in exactly this area fighting the Vichy French, and the Australian troops were fought to a standstill. It's very easy ground to defend and very difficult ground to attack. That said, as you mentioned, the Israelis have incredible intelligence of this area. They will have been surveilling this area with drones, with satellite imagery, and probably with special forces covert patrols for months now. They also, I believe, have a very well-developed intelligence network in Lebanon. Clearly, they were caught out drastically in Gaza with the October 7 attacks, but it's pretty clear that their emphasis has been on understanding the layout of Hezbollah defences, where these tunnels are, and potentially where these rockets and these caches of rockets are stored. But that still doesn't make it easy. The Hezbollah defender, and in military terms, we often say that one defender should be able to stop between 3 and 5 attackers. When you're on the offence, you try and generate an advantage of 5 to 1. So one Hezbollah defender arguably can stop 3 to 5 Israeli attackers, and we think there are up to 80,000 Hezbollah defenders spread across southern Lebanon and probably up into the Bekaa Valley.
Well, that goes to my next question. Who would have the upper hand and in what capacities or settings?
Well, Gemma, I think that attacks on the Hezbollah command and control network will have worked. And I have no doubt all of those officials have been replaced, but it is not the same developing a level of cohesion quickly after a decapitation like this. So I've frankly never seen anything of this sophistication and scale before. So Hezbollah will have a basic fundamental defensive plan, but coordinating that plan with your second 11 leaders will be difficult. Having said that, the defender has a particular advantage. And when you look at this terrain, we see narrow ravines that head up onto high ground on the Lebanese side of the border. Ravines in which ambushes can hide, the tunnels that will have been tunnelled into the hillside, but also under the walls of buildings. There will be sniper holes, there will be mines, there will be drones and robotic devices, all ambushing the Israelis as they come in. So it won't be, in my opinion, a sort of a lightning strike, and this is the way the Israelis have liked to operate in the past, and they've been very successful at that. But in this case, I think it will be a grind where they use artillery and air power to suppress the area in front of their advancing troops. Now, that is bad news for the people who have lived in this region, because we will see again a lot of homes destroyed, a lot of infrastructure destroyed as the Israelis advance to the north.
Gus, why did the Lebanese army withdraw to the north?
I think it was a really telling move, Gemma, and I think that's a signal from the government of Lebanon, noting that Hezbollah are influential in the government but are not the formal government of Lebanon. Lebanon is sadly a fractured state, largely fractured along religious and cultural lines. And I think the signal from the Lebanese army and the Lebanese government is, we are not fighting you. It is Hezbollah that's fighting you. Now, I think the Israelis are walking a very fine line. It's clear Netanyahu is trying to keep the Lebanese population on side with his messaging and the clear warnings of bombing strikes. The bombings so far have been heavily weighted towards Hezbollah areas of the country. That is the area south of the Litani River, the southern suburbs of Beirut, and the Bekaa Valley east on the eastern side of the country, where weapons come in from Syria. But it will not have it will have still impacted the remaining people of Lebanon. But in this case, I think there's a clear signal from the government of Lebanon that this is not a fight between Lebanon and Israel. It is a fight between Israel and Hezbollah.
And would a ground invasion trigger a red line with Iran?
That is the $64,000 question. Iran is clearly the main peer threat to Israel. Hezbollah are a de facto force, a dangerous one. They are probably the largest non-state force that we have on the planet. But the real challenge for Israel is Iran. Now, I think America's actions in this conflict, which we haven't talked much about, are geared towards keeping Iran from escalating the conflict. People sometimes wonder why these conflicts in the Middle East impact us. Well, in this case, the Navy element, which is based around an aircraft carrier strike group that was in the Pacific, has been moved into the Middle East region with a clear signal to Iran that if it strikes Israel or joins on any scale, then the US will respond as part of that deterrence. And interestingly, that opportunity to exercise that vacuum in our region has been taken up by China, who've now put all three of their aircraft carriers to sea. So we are really seeing the major state-on-state manoeuvre looking to pressure America and its allies. This is big S strategy that we're seeing.
Retired Major General Gus McLaughlin, always good to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma.